Good afternoon, students. The topic of today's discussion is this data normalization. Before giving the data to the deep neural networks, the data is normalized. What is the need of normalizing the data? Uh, Suppose you have a data set, house prediction, house price prediction data set. Then you have number of rooms, suppose, and area and built area. If you put up, if there is a house with 3 rooms and its area is, suppose if the area is in square yards, 200, and if the built area is 100, you see there is lot of variation between this value and this value. This is 3 and this is 200. Like that, in few data sets, you might have for one feature. This is one feature. This is another feature. This is third feature. For each feature, you would have a different value. If, for instance, if you have here 1000, and here if you have uh, in a very small value, say 5, and if you give this sort of data to the model, then this will have more impact than this, because the values of these feature is far higher than the values of this feature. Essentially, it is required to have a normalized data. How do you normalize the data? You normalize the data by dividing the feature by the total number. Then you get, if you remember in our NS data set, the pixel values are between 0 to 255. And to normalize this data, maximum is 255. So if the pixel value is 10, it is divided by 255. When you do this, you get some value. Likewise, you do for every feature. That is known as normalization. This normalization is performed before giving this data to the model. This is the model. And here we first obtain the data set. After obtaining the data set, we normalize, and then we provide to the model. This is outside the model normalization. There is another concept known as batch normalization, which is performed within the model, the normalization of the data. This normalization introduces a new layer. When you talk about CNN, which is convolutional neural network, you have a uh, convolution layer, pooling layer, and then you can have a batch normalization layer. All right, it is considered as a separate layer, and this layer will have two parameters, beta and gamma. So the idea is to introduce a new layer with parameters, and these both the parameters are used to rescale the output of the layer. When the output is generated from this layer, this max pool, this is given as the input to this batch normalization layer. This batch normalization layer has two parameters, uh, beta and gamma, and then these parameters are applied on the input which has been received into this layer, and rescaling and normalization is performed before sending out the output. So, uh, mean and standard deviation of the batch is performed. The current mean and standard deviation is computed over the mini batch. If you have a mini batch of 10 data samples, these 10 data samples mean and their variance, no, their standard deviation is computed, and then these two are used to normalize the activations of the input. Why does batch normalization help? Batch normalization helps because uh, the activation function which we are using, which is a ReLU, it's not zero-centered. And also initialization and input distribution might not be normalized. It's not zero-centeredness, it is not like this. Okay, and then there is input distribution shift over time. Due to all this, internal covariate shift occurs, and that has the impact on the model, which makes the model to learn slowly. Apparently, this batch normalization overcomes those problems, and it is practically shown in several research papers that uh, batch normalization indeed overcomes that internal covariate shift problem, and also makes the model to learn quickly. So this new IPS, this is a very reputed conference. In that conference, this batch normalization paper was presented, and batch normalization helps if there is an internal covariate shift, and it also smoothens the landscape. And this function F is lift shift if, and then Batch normalization improves this. This is also known as L function. It improves L function uh, of loss and gradients. And batch normalization improves the stability with respect to hyperparameters, initialization, convergence, and so on. So in Newer IPS 2018, there was a paper that showed how batch normalization helps optimization. And it introduced, they showed that batch normalization is effective even if you introduce an internal covariate shift after batch normalization layer again. When you have like this, here batch normalization, here after batch normalization, again if you introduce internal covariate shift, further the subsequent layer of batch normalization removes it again. All right. So this is about the generalizations. So y hat is equals to function activation function of this adaptive gain and bias. X is the input minus this mu mean and standard deviation plus bias. This is how using this y hat is computed output of this batch normalization and calculating this mean and standard deviation has to be calculated, and from every input input minus the mean has to be done and divide by, this is normalizing. When you are dividing it by standard deviation, this is known as normalization. So using that you can perform it. The self-normalizing neural networks, uh, this uses this specific weight initialization. Uh, you know, lambda, there is a function f of x, lambda, x when x is greater than 0, otherwise exponent of x minus 1, and then there is a alpha uh, if parameter, and this lambda value, alpha value is defined, and the mean and standard deviation is also defined. And because of this, uh, the network gets, neural networks become self-normalizing neural networks. Okay, next one is dropout and drop connect. What is dropout? Uh, in a very large network, this is specifically useful in a large network when you have hundreds of neurons or nodes. In this type of network, you have like these connections. Every this hidden layer performs some operation and activation function operation. Sometimes this neuron or the node do not contribute anything in the learning process. Those neurons can be eliminated from the model. For instance, this neuron, this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and here this one, and this one. Suppose they are not contributing in the learning process in any way, then they can be eliminated. This is known as dropout. Dropout allows the model to remove the nodes which are not contributing in the learning process. And you have to specify the percentage of dropout. If you say zero point 0.1, then out of uh, all the nodes, 10% of the nodes are dropped out. If you say 0.25, then 25% of the nodes are eliminated from this network. That this is a hyperparameter. What value is the right value, or which one uh, uh, yields a better performance of the model. That is not defined. That is uh, specific to the model, to the problem, to the uh, architecture of the model, and this value has to be determined through experimentation. Alright, there is another concept known as drop connect, drop out and drop connect here. This drop connect is about eliminating the connections. This is drop connection. Uh, uh, in a neural network, typically nodes are connected. When you want to eliminate some of the connections, then you use drop connect. Here, suppose this connection. Even when you break the connection, when you eliminate the connection from the system, then also it is equal to removing this node, because from this removing this node with respect to this connection, not with respect to all the other nodes. Here we are just removing the connections, not the nodes. All right. So this is about dropout and drop connect. Hope it is clear. Okay. Any doubts? Okay. Then we will look at one example. This collaboratory is a free service provided by Google that facilitate development and execution of deep learning programs. collab.research.google.com is the URL. Why this? All right. Oh, here you look at there is a dropout of 0.2, means 20%. Here also you see there is a dropout. Here this is normalization. This is known as normalization. Here you are changing the type. This is pre-processing. This is known as pre-processing of the data. You are changing the integers to float. Pixel values are in integers. We are changing to float. Okay. Here, here we are building a convolutional neural network. On this CNN was already explained to you all. If you have not attended that class, the video is uploaded. You please go through that. In convolutional neural network, which is a specialized form of neural networks to work with images. Here in this, you have a conv2D. There are two types of models, sequential model and functional model. Sequential model means it is linear stacking of layers like this. Linearly, you arrange the layers like layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, layer 5 linearly in a series form. And this one is convolutional one. What are you doing in convolutional layer 1? Here, just we studied about the batch normalization. You see, this is batch normalization. And access is equal to -1 means you are normalizing all the input variables, which are also known as the features. Con2D, here 32 filters, size 3 by 3, input shape is 28 by 28 by 1. By 1 means it is a black and white image. 32 filters, also known as kernels. And each kernel size is 3 by 3. It is like this. This is 3 by 3. So 3 by 3 kernel, these weights, initially they are initialized with some random values. Later, the values are updated as the model learns through backpropagation. You are adding a convolutional layer, then batch normalization, then activation, then you are adding the convolutional layer to the model. Then convolutional layer 2, batch normalization, activation functions. We learned the activation function, sigmoid, tanh, ReLU. So ReLU is the most popular one. All the concepts theoretically, whatever we have learned so far, we are putting it into practice now. This is the first convolutional layer having 32 filters of 3 by 3 size and a batch normalization applied to it, and then the activation ReLU function. Convolutional layer 2 again has 32 different filters of size 3 by 3. Why 32? The question arises. Why 32? Why not 64? Why not 16? Why not 8? It is possible to have any value. You can give any value here. And through practice, it is determined that in the first first second layer, you should have filters which are less than the filters in the later layers, layer 3, 4, and after, if you have 5, 6, they should be again they should be higher than this, because as we proceed further, we learn more and more features. So essentially, initial layers must have less number of filters, followed by more number of filters and more filter in the subsequent layer, and this process continues until the last. You can have 16 as well, and again this is a hyperparameter. Hyperparameters are those parameters that are set by the user. So you can give any value here. Why 3 by 3? Can I have 5 by 5? Can I have more bigger one? Again, this is also through practice. 3 by 3 is the most widely used filter. You can use 5 by 5 as well. And batch normalization, activation, and here if you observe, there is a max pooling. So how is this architecture? Our model's architecture is having a convolutional layer, and in this convolutional layer there are 32 filters of size 3 by 3, followed by batch normalization and activation. Okay, this is our convolution 1. This is conv layer, this is batch normalization layer, this is activation. This is conv 1. Then from conv 1, you are going to conv 2. What do you have in conv 2? You have again convolutional layer, you have batch normalization, and you have activation. After this, you have a pooling layer. This is known as max pooling. And further, there is another convolutional layer having 64 filters of size 3 by 3. The same thing continues. So again, you have like this conv2, then conv3, then conv4. After conv4, you have another layer which is known as flatten. What does flatten layer do? Flatten layer converts the matrix into vector. When it is 28, if it is 28 by 28, it will be in this format, matrix form. This will be converted into, I think, 784, 786 something. It will be like this vector. Okay, that is done using this flatten layer. So you have 4 convolutional layers, um, two max pooling layer, then flatten layer, followed by dense layer. Dense layer has 512 nodes. Dense layer followed by batch normalization, then activation. It means that dense layer is also known as a fully connected layer. You have fully connected dense layer 1 and dense layer 2. Or they have given as 5 and 6. The numbers here 5 and 6. And here, if you observe, there is a dropout 20%. And the last, this output layer having 10 nodes indicates that there are 10 output classes. And every node will give out a probability value for all these nodes. And the activation function used is softmax, because softmax is the function that generates the probability values for a multi-class classification problem. This is convolutional neural network for the classification of digits, handwritten digits. This is model creation. We have created the model. You can display the summary. Then you have to compile it. We have learned about the optimizers. Here we are using Adam optimizer and loss function as cross entropy categorical, because you have two kinds of cross entropy errors, binary and categorical. Binary cross entropy is about the output which are only 2 in number, whereas you have categorical for more than 2 output categories. Matrix is accuracy. All these concepts have been covered. If you have not attended the class, please go through the videos. And then here, data augmentation. Data augmentation is a concept through which images are new images are generated from the existing images by simply applying some operation like rotation, shifting, zooming, cropping. And here you are generating the data, augmented data, train generator and test generator. Here it follows this uh, gen.flow, test gen.flow. Gen.flow will generate these images and pass it in train generator, and likewise for test generator for the this fitting is for specifying the data set for epoch values, and then data validation data set. And then here, when you say fit, the model starts to train. All right. When the model starts to train, it goes through the number of epochs specified. Here it is 5. For the 5 epochs, this model will run. And finally here, you are evaluating the model on the test set. Let us execute this. This is loading of the API. This is data pre data splitting into training and test set. This is just printing the data from the data set. And here, image in a computer system is actually this one. Black means 0. It is a collection of pixel values. 0 means black, 255 means white, and all the other numbers in between denote the gray values. This is an image actually. For us, image would be like this. For a computer system, image is this matrix of pixels. Then normalizing the data. Converting the data into one hot encoding. This is the first hidden layer. This is the activation unit. This is the dropout 20%. Here adding second hidden layer. Here adding dense layer, activation layer, and printing the summary. In this, we have dense layer activation, dropout, dense activation, dropout, dense activation. And then compiling the model. These things I have explained to you how this uh, backpropagation and gradient descent facilitate reaching the global minimum value where you have mm, the least cost function value and the least loss value. This J is the cost function. And if you have a bigger learning rate, you tend to overshoot. Yeah, a smaller learning rate requires more number of steps. And this local minimum, this is global minimum. This is all we learned in our previous classes. This is compiling the model. This one is training. This is known as training the model for 5 epochs. Uh, you see here, the loss is reducing. At every epoch, initially it was zero point 0.2, then 0.1, 0.07, 0.05, 0.0500, and accuracy is increasing 92 to 96, 97, 98. This is how model is trained. After training of the model has to be evaluated. And on test data, uh, accuracy is 97%. Loss is 0.06. Plotting the predicted 6, actual class is 5, but predicted is 6. This is wrong prediction. This is predicted 9 and class is 2. Actually, it is 2, but the model has predicted that it is 9. So, like that, sometimes model will give out wrong results. And from here, you are building a deep convolutional neural network. Same thing you are doing for building pre-processing, loading of the APIs, and then uh, here, if you look at this is conv layer. In the previous model, there was no convolutional neural network. It was only fully connected, normal artificial neural network. Here, this is convolutional neural network. After compiling, generating the images, and then you are training. Okay, let us see what is the accuracy using convolutional neural network. It's taking more time. Why it is taking more time? Convolutional neural network has got so many filters, and you see number of parameters that are generated in this convolutional neural networks are 5 lakh 97,000. Trainable parameters are 5 lakh 96,000. Non-trainable parameters are 1,400. Whereas in the normal neural artificial neural network, how many parameters were generated? 6 lakh 69,000. But then here it is simple because you have only dense layers. Whereas in our convolutional neural networks, we have here convolutional layer, Bayes normalization layer, max pooling layer. That's why it is taking more time. If you observe here, there is also a validation accuracy, validation loss, accuracy. Here, the data, test data is given as validation data, and here it is taking training data, loss and accuracy, and validation loss and validation accuracy. Okay, like this it executes for convolutional neural networks. Do you have any doubts? Okay, then see you tomorrow.